You're listening to the Ugly Truth Podcast with George and Christina Markoski, your weekly injection of science, insights, and myth-busting. For awesome info and trending content, go to theuglytruth.blog.
Hello and welcome from Santorini.
Hi, welcome to Greece. Cheers.
Cheers. So, here we are, continuing our little trip and...
A Euro trip.
Yep. So, today we're going to talk about why you're going to lose your job from AI and why it's good.
How could that possibly be good, losing your job?
Well, if we look back, every time there's a new technological revolution, the fact of it is, humans, one thing we've got throughout our history is we're into technology. And I'd imagine the first bit of technology was probably a little bit of flint that some caveman...
That made a fire?
No, a little flint that they used to kill animal, cut meat.
Oh, right, okay.
And there was probably fire afterwards. That was probably our first tool. Fire was our second tool. Because they estimate fire, we probably started using 500,000 years ago to 1 million years ago.
But nobody lost their job from the invention of a flint.
No one lost their job to the invention of a flint, yes. I agree. So, but what happened is after people started inventing flints, you know, they did fire and everything else like that. As we progressed, about 10,000 years ago was probably when we first started losing jobs because of technology.
So what was one of the first sort of things that was invented?
Okay, so agriculture. So what happened was before agriculture, we lived as hunter-gatherers. We didn't stay in the same spot very often. We started moving around. We kept moving around with the animals and the seasons and everything else like that. And everyone was involved in hunting and gathering. The whole tribe. Yeah. There was no exceptions. So what happened is we spent all our time hunting and gathering, getting food. Because people have had a deficit throughout history
of calories. So with the invention of agriculture, how did that make people lose their jobs? Is that because it wasn't necessary for everyone then to participate in the food gathering?
Exactly. So not everyone had to food gather, and we had room to have a chief who sat around and did what chief things. So what happened was, I guess with agriculture, we started the whole division of labour, which is pretty cool because you think about it, if there was no division of labour, you'd get up in the morning and you'd be producing food so you can survive before you did anything else. So there's not a lot of time left to do anything else.
That was your main priority.
Yes.
For survival.
Yeah. So if you look at Paleo Man, and basically, you know, they did a bit of artwork and a few things like that, but not much more. So once we started agriculture, that gave people more time, and also they got to stay in one place, so they could build a more comfortable house, make a bed, and things like that. Is that
when we got out of the caves and started building little huts?
That was probably when we got out of the caves and started building huts. Yes, unless there was that's what happened.
Okay, interesting.
So that's when the first jobs of producing food went away. So as we went along, there was more and more specialist jobs with technology. So look, you had the blacksmith, and you had people that made bread, the bread makers. Remember in Pompeii recently, and we saw that they had bars, they had little places of food.
Oh, they had like a takeaway place, and it was all done in these pots. It was amazing.
Takeaway food.
Old-fashioned takeaway place, yeah. They had like all these pots lined up, and back in the day you would have gone up to that little stand and gone, you know, I'll have this, this and this. And that was like I guess you could say like a pizza takeaway place.
Another specialist job they had in Pompeii was the prostitute.
Yes.
Right? And the funny thing is, they had pictures of penises along the road to show you where to go.
Where the brothel was.
Yes. And in there was like a takeaway menu, because you had like 10 different pictures of what you could order at the brothel.
I don't think you could take it away.
It wasn't takeaway, but it was a menu that you could
A menu to
choose.
order from, yeah.
Yes, to order from. So I guess that was another specialist job. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Because, and I guess you needed, another invention needed to specialise work was money. Because then you could trade things. I guess you could barter things, but money helped specialise people. So as we went along history, we specialised more and more. But still, even the early 1900s, over 95% of people were still working in agriculture, producing food.
Right.
Not necessarily for themselves, but for other people as well.
Right? Like for their community?
For the country, for the community, whatever.
Okay.
So producing food has been the biggest employer ever in human history.
But now it's the opposite, because
Yes.
you've only got, I don't know what percentage it is of farmers. It's like 1% of people in farming?
In the first world, not in the third world.
Yeah, I'm talking
because
about the
of
first
technology.
world here.
And when this first came around, people worried about this because they started inventing tractors and things. Because before that, they used horse to plough, right, which started freeing up human labour. But tractors really changed things a lot. And so modern agricultural machinery changed things completely around, and now less than 1% of people actually produce food in the first world.
Yeah,
Now,
amazing.
a lot of people go, oh my God, you're going to lose 95% of the jobs. It would have been bad, you know what I mean? However, a lot of other jobs came along because of it. And actually, we've got more jobs now than what we had 100 years ago.
But it's more in the service industry. So now we've got like people working in restaurants serving the food.
Yes, so when you've got the primary industry of production, of producing food,
Yeah.
and then you've got the secondary industries of like factories and producing goods. And then you got the other next industry, which is services, banking and finance and things like that.
Okay.
And that sector, where originally the biggest sector was producing food, then factories got big, but now they're getting smaller too because you've got a lot more robots and things producing them. So now that third sector, service sector, has grown quite a bit, and there's so many different things out there. Like even like coaches and things like that, you didn't have in those days. You know, 100 years ago, you didn't have a property coach or a fitness coach or a life coach. They've got all sorts of coaches now. It's amazing. You can get a coach for
Fitness
anything.
coach, yeah.
Yeah, you can have all sorts of coaches. There's sex coaches out there. I'm serious. Like, you name it, there's a coach for it. It's a coach for
Absolutely,
anything.
yeah.
And so the interesting thing is,
Would you say that was sort of the boom of education?
well, at the moment, I suppose, what's happened is a lot of things, and we're going to talk about this, in basically technology helps shrink things, make things cheaper, makes them ubiquitous, and also ends up dematerializing completely.
Right.
And it's a good thing because as you go along, you become a lot more efficient, and everything becomes cheaper and becomes more accessible to
It's an
everyone.
interesting concept, the
dematerializing.
notion of dematerializing something.
Make something disappear.
Yeah,
So
it's crazy.
let's go through a little workshop here.
What example are we going to talk about specifically?
Let's talk about music.
The music industry,
Yeah,
yeah. Okay, great.
So music, I suppose, original music was probably cavemen beating on a drum or some rocks together.
Some sticks, yeah.
Right, around the fire. Mm-hmm. And you had to be next to them to listen to them. And you wouldn't even know.
It had to be live. That's
Yes,
the
it
only
had to
way
be
it was
live, but you
possible.
didn't even know they were going to play until that night or whatever. You know what I mean? It was spontaneous. And then I suppose you had musicians in the past. Mm-hmm. You know, the travelling bard who'd go from tavern to tavern, right?
But then
And
you had people
sing
like
songs.
the king and the queen who are only really wealthy people who could afford to have like a large sort of band play for them
Yes,
in
so
front of everyone.
Absolutely. When you had Mozart and people like
Yeah,
that, he
that's what I
played
was
for the
referring
king,
to,
and if you had money, you could have them come play for you,
And play for all your guests.
And the king could have someone play for him whenever he wanted to, but that was about it. No one else could.
No one else had
Unless
the access.
you're really wealthy, you didn't have the access. Exactly. And you had to wait for something to come along for you to go there.
A big event.
Then the gramophone was invented.
Okay, yeah.
And the gramophone actually got music and and you could reproduce it. And you could buy a gramophone, only the rich could afford it, and then you could play music. Mm-hmm. You put the little needle on.
That must have shown quite a bit of status. If you invite like someone over to your house for dinner and then you play some music on your gramophone, they'd go, oh, wow, they can afford a gramophone.
That would be a very exciting thing. They probably only had a few records, and each record would be treasured.
Yeah.
And
right.
really, you'd have to handle it really, because if you drop those...
It's funny that you say each record would have been treasured, because I'm just thinking back to the piles of CDs I've literally just got thrown in my car, and they're like 10 years old and I haven't listened to them in ages, and I literally could not give a crap about them. But then I'm picturing the way they would have treated these items back in the day.
They were very expensive to produce and buy, but also very fragile. And it was they were very important. So people treated them with kid gloves. You'd be very, very careful with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it'd be a ritual, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then what happened was then the LP came out, plastic vinyl records.
I was about to say, what the heck
and
is
vinyl
an LP?
vinyl records were great because you could drop them, they wouldn't break. And they could mass produce them in a factory.
Right.
So suddenly, every person could get a record player and a record. And then they had radio, so you could listen to music. Mm-hmm. And River Radio, you could plug a radio in any power source and listen to it if it was close enough to a station, which really democratized music quite a bit. Heaps. So the radio was huge. It was very, very big.
And then we had the tape player.
Then the tape
Yeah.
player was an amazing thing, because then you could record music and play it back.
And then it made it like portable.
It made it, well, yes, because you had the Walkman, the Sony Walkman. I remember buying my first Walkman in the 1980s. It was very exciting.
Yeah.
You know, you could walk and listen to music.
I remember in the 90s I'd like have a little black one, and I'd go and record my favourite song on the radio, and if I missed the start I'd be like so upset, because then I've missed the intro to the song, and then I'd have to wait for it to come on the radio again, so I'd be sitting near the radio waiting for it to come back on again just so I wouldn't miss the beginning.
I remember,
and it was a process.
I remember the 80s. I used to listen to the radio and they had the top 10, and you sit there with your finger on the play and record button at the same time, ready.
How cute,
right?
yeah.
To record it. And then I had my favourite tape, and I'd listen to it over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And when I moved to Sydney, one of the most important things that came with me was my tape collection.
Oh, wow. And it was so annoying when they broke, because then you'd have to get like a pencil and then like screw the tape back
Absolutely.
in. It was a mess.
It was. And then obviously the CD player came out. And the CD player and the CDs were actually a quite big boom for music. It really, they sold a lot of music then. Then suddenly what happened was...
Because that was like digitizing the whole industry,
It
basically.
was digitising the industry, but what happened after the CD player was then we had the MP3. Mm-hmm, so the MP3 was interesting, because what they did is they found the way of compressing...
The comeback of Apple.
Well, this was before then, but yes. So what happened was you could have music as a WAV file, but it was a very big file. In those days, the internet was very limited. So to send a file like that or receive it would have taken forever. And then some smart
like
person...
when you say forever, do you mean like a couple of days, a week?
Look, I don't know, but it's like a couple of years ago getting a Blu-ray movie downloaded.
Okay.
Where now internet speeds are quite
it's like
fast.
Bang, yeah.
Exactly. So,
couple of hours.
So what happened was some person invented an MP3 player, and basically to the normal human ear on a normal playback system, you can't really tell the difference between WAV and MP3. Unless you're really good at what you do and you've got the right equipment and the right speakers, you can't. So it's a lossless, and what they've done is they've compressed it right down to be easy to share files, right? And then what happened was piracy started, because once music...
Return of the Pirates!
Well, music became dematerialized. It went from a physical object to nothing, just information.
Is this when they started bringing in like fines for burning CDs and things like that? Copyright
They did have that, but
laws?
everyone was burning CDs. But what happened before that, they created Napster, this thing called Napster,
What the
where
heck
it
is
was
that?
file sharing, and this was the first file sharing on the internet.
Before LimeWire?
I think it's very similar to
Oh,
LimeWire.
okay.
And let's face it, everyone did that. And what happened was music sales actually started decreasing.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
And there was a lot of people that got funny about it. The funny thing is, some really smart musicians actually wanted their music to get pirated to make them big, because people always end up...
It would get bigger reach with more people sharing it.
The fact of it is, if you really like something and it's quality, you're going to pay for it or contribute some sort of way.
Yeah, like
That's
go
the
to
fact
their
of it.
concert or something.
Exactly. So there's more than one way of monetizing. I mean, you look at some of the stars today that do a lot of awesome YouTube clips, like Lady Gaga, amazing, would have spent millions and millions, and it's free to watch.
Yeah.
But I bet you sells a lot of albums and a lot of concert tours and everything else.
Absolutely.
It's smart. So what happened was, that's what happened, and the music industry was very scared. They thought the music industry was going to fall down and nothing was going to happen. You had Steve Jobs, who created the iPod, right, as you said before, and that was MP3 player, and that was a huge thing. And now people could have 10,000 songs. That was the original iPod thing, 10,000 songs in one little thing like that.
Yeah, that was a big jump for me, going from like a portable CD player to having an iPod with, a couple of gigs.
It's a reliable...
So many songs.
Well, you can have...
And it didn't because CDs get scratched all the time. It was just amazing just to have the songs like there on demand when you wanted.
Totally. It's like...
Are we still recording?
Yeah, we are.
Just cut that part out. I was checking.
No, that's okay. It doesn't matter. Look, it's like this. So I guess what happened was music got dematerialized. And a lot of people said, well, that was a bad thing.
But actually it was a good thing. Exactly.
So what were the consequences of music dematerializing? Well, one is a lot more people shared music and because it was free. So you get music for free. However, then suddenly you started getting iTunes Music Store, Spotify, and all that sort of stuff. And so Spotify, for example, we're members of Spotify. It's like $10 a month.
This is not sponsored, by the
No,
way.
it's not. It's not. You got a fly in your
Wasn't
hair.
there something the other day? Someone's like, "Oh, Pandora's dead," and I didn't actually ask them about it because I wasn't on that subject. But do you know anything about that?
I don't know if it's dead or not, but Pandora was a service like Spotify.
Yeah, I know. But someone, I think it was like one of our clients said it.
Okay, who knows? That's opening up the Pandora's box. Because here we are in Greece opening up the Pandora's box.
Pandora. Yeah, so then you've got services like that, and the way they make money is through advertising.
Yes, now, but
so
what's
they give you it for free.
Or you pay.
Yeah, or you can
month.
pay monthly and you get no ads. So.
But now, since these services, what's been happening in the music industry has been growing every year. Since 2016.
Who would have thought? Yeah.
Wow, so it's actually going up, and they're going huge. They're loving it. But not only that, it's beautiful because it's not the dematerialization of something. What it does is the jobs now have moved, right? So there's more people producing music now than there was 20 years ago.
Interesting.
Right? So there's more jobs in music. But there's less jobs in certain parts of it because...
But they're the parts that weren't really important anyway,
we don't
right?
need tape players, CD players. We don't manufacture...
Now you can put more effort into
the
making
important stuff.
Creative work.
And, I mean, there's a lot more money in marketing music now too and that sort of stuff. And creative videos and stuff like that. So, but not only does dematerializing make something cheaper, it makes it easier and quicker. So if I want a song now and a new thing comes out, a new album, I can open up my iPhone and go on Spotify and Google,
search
for it, press the button, done. I've got it. I can download it or just listen to it.
Oh, I just listen to things on YouTube sometimes. I don't even download them.
Yeah, doesn't take me long at all.
Yeah.
I don't even have to download it. Now, I remember one of the first albums I bought, which was Michael Jackson, right? The Thriller album. Now, I remember seeing it on TV. I remember seeing the clip. So the clip really got me. Thriller, the clip. I mean, that was scary. I couldn't even sleep at night. After the clip. Right? I was young. Anyway, so what happened was I rang my friend up on the phone. And this is a landline, so I had to make sure he was home. You had to speak to someone's mum first before you could even talk to him those days.
Wow, yeah.
So talked to my friend Justin, and I said, look, I want to go get the new Michael Jackson album. He's like, oh, cool, yeah, let's do it, right? So I said, let's go Saturday, we'll catch the train. So we organised what time we're going to meet on the train. So I had to walk down to the train station, get on the train, 40 minutes into town, then went to walk around the mall and find the music store. The music store's massive, and you go around trying to find his album, right? And it was packed. There's people everywhere. There's a lot of excitement.
Do those music stores still exist?
Look,
because I remember seeing there was one stage in the early 2000s, there was heaps of those Sony music stores everywhere, but I haven't seen one in years. They probably still do exist, obviously.
Look, I think there'd be specialist stuff now because vinyl is very popular. It's come back.
Talking about people losing their jobs, a lot of music store owners go out of business.
Music store owners, there'd be people that work in music stores, all that sort of stuff. Totally.
Yeah, so back to your story. So you looked for the music store.
Grabbed the album, then caught the train home. My friend came over, put it on the old record player. It was massive. It was one of those old ones that was that big. The speakers were that big, but they were pretty hopeless. And we played the record, and it was awesome. Loved it. What an experience. But it took me nearly a whole day.
A whole day.
Right?
Wow.
Now, and I think it cost me like $26 at the time.
Mm-hmm. Just the album?
Just
not
the album.
Including like the train tickets?
No. The train ticket was probably $1 or something, but it took me a lot of effort, a lot of money to get this record and actually hear it.
Mm-hmm.
Now on Spotify, for $10 a month, I can hear an unlimited amount of albums. Everyone except for Taylor Swift, because she's not on Spotify.
Mm-hmm. Annoying.
Right? And maybe there's a few others as well.
Yeah.
But I can listen to just about anyone I want for the same price. And I can listen to 1,000 songs or one song or no songs for the same sort of money. And,
easy access.
And no effort.
Yeah.
So really, I really think it's what technology has done. Not only has it dematerialized music and made it where I can carry it around in my pocket anywhere in the world, including here when I've got Wi-Fi, but also it's made getting the music very cheap and effortless.
Brilliant.
Yeah. And technology does that to everything. That's the beautiful part about it. So a lot of people are scared of technology, but really,
It makes your life better.
In a lot of ways, I never say everything and all, and never generalize too much, but in a lot of ways, it makes your life frictionless, better, easier, and less expensive in that area.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's just music alone, but it changed music completely. But even if you want to become a musician these days. In the old days, to become a musician, you had to play music, play in a local hangout, spend years playing good music for people to slowly get to know you and get bigger and bigger and bigger. Mm-hmm. Or get in the right channels and have the right agent and all that sort of stuff. But now, what we've done, music has been more democratized, and you can have people that have gone on the internet, on YouTube, and made it big in music without the big budgets. And some are good and some are bad. Depends on you, but I think if people are paying for it and listening to it, it must be okay in some people's eyes anyway. Because you got Rebecca Black and you got that other guy.
Well, Justin Bieber was found on YouTube.
That's right. There you go. So,
what I really liked the invention of was like Google Maps and TomTom and Waze and all those apps where you can actually see where you're going when you're driving. Because I remember like back in the 90s that wasn't available, obviously, so you had to use a road map. And I was thinking, oh my God, when I learned to drive, like how on earth am I going to follow a road map? And then luckily technology came in and saved me from ever having to do that.
Christina, when I
So I was like, yes, I skipped that hard phase.
Back when I first started traveling, the first thing you do when you go into a new town is go get a local map for a few dollars and have a look.
Try and read it.
And get a little text and go, this is where I am and this is where I'm going to be going.
Where I want to go.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And look, technology's dematerialized travel so much, because you look at your iPhone now, right? And the iPhone, or any smartphone, I shouldn't just say iPhone just because I use one, any smartphone. And what's happened is,
don't be biased.
Your street directory is dematerialized and it's in your phone. Bang. Your record player is in your phone. Your tape recorder, your microphone is in your phone. Your
calculator is in your phone.
Your calculator is now in your phone, dematerialized. Calendar. And see, all those items used to cost money to produce. Someone had a job producing them, and you had to put an effort to find it, and buy it, and use it. And now, all that's gone. I don't have to buy a calculator ever again.
Woohoo! Awesome.
But not only that, I can get a free one whenever I want. Anywhere. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool when you think about it. Because I remember when I was learning maths at school, the teacher would say, well, you're not always going to have a calculator on you. Well, actually, I will.
Yes, I am.
I am. So
take that.
Exactly. Because we used to complain about learning our times tables and everything else. The teacher would say, well, you're not going to always have a calculator. Not everyone gets to have a calculator. Well,
not only that, you don't need a watch anymore because you've got the time on your phone. People just wear watches as accessories these days. I think they always sort of were, but there was a time when they were like functional as well.
Yes, the pocket watch was definitely a very class thing. People would have the pocket watch with a little chain, and so they wouldn't lose it.
I wasn't talking about back in the Stone Age. I was talking about like Rolex and things like that.
Yes.
You're talking about like the 1900s.
Well, the funny thing is, pocket watches made a bit of a comeback back to the 90s.
Yeah, because now they're vintage.
Yes, and they've made a comeback, and a lot of young people like to have a pocket watch instead of...
What young people are you hanging out with? God.
Okay, Christina, enough.
They mustn't be that young.
So people have lost a lot of jobs, not manufacturing, street directories, tape players, all that sort of stuff. However, even though they've had their job taken away from them, there's more jobs available.
Such as?
Okay. Well, the smartphone industry is huge.
Technology, yeah.
So we have a lot more people employed in technology and marketing now than ever. You know what I mean? And just like the music industry, there's more people working in the music industry now than there used to be. But their jobs are actually more interesting. There's less people making records and more people making music.
Now you've got people that you can call and they tell you to turn your Wi-Fi on and off. That's a very exciting job.
Yes.
I used to be one of those people. So is your internet working? Nope. Have you tried turning your Wi-Fi on and off?
Yes, exactly. So what are the 5 jobs that we're going to lose? Well, let's talk about cars.
This is a very interesting one. And I never really thought about it until recently of how far it's going to go with affecting people's jobs, because sure, you think, well, we've got self-driving cars coming up, so that's going to, I guess taxi drivers and Uber drivers are going to eventually lose their jobs from that. But then you've also got like insurance, registration, like there are so many industries surrounding cars and actually owning a car that make a lot of money out of people.
Oh, look.
Petrol stations.
Well, the thing is, a lot of the revenue for the government here in Australia, not here in Australia, we're in Greece at the moment, but in Australia and a lot of countries, the reason petrol is so high is most of it's all tax. So you got your registration and your insurance and all that sort of stuff. Now, probably around, in an industrialised nation, there's probably around about 9% of people working in transport and cars, like transporting people and things and trucks and all that sort of stuff. And now soon they're working now on making cars electric, which is going to cut out a lot too. So combustion engines are very, very complicated. And that's why you need a mechanic and a service and all that sort of stuff, right? But you think about it, things with electric engines are different. You think about your washing machine, it's got an electric engine. How often does that need a service, the electric engine?
It depends whose washing machine we're talking about. If we're talking about ours, then every week.
Not the engine, though. Not the engine.
Okay.
Not the engine. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
So electric engines are very, very stable compared to combustion engines.
Right.
So you're not going to have to take your car to the mechanic all the time.
Yeah.
And
So
get it fixed.
mechanics, there goes their
You don't need
jobs.
spark plugs. You don't need oil. There's a lot of things you don't need. There's a lot less consumables. So that's going to change one thing. But two, you've got all these people transporting people and things everywhere, all backwards and forwards, in trucks and in cars and everything else like that. And but what happens is when you buy a car, because a lot of people own cars, right?
Yeah.
You buy a car, you drive it to work, you drive it back, and you drive it somewhere else and back. Most of the time you got your car, you're not actually in the car,
True.
right?
You just use it to get from A to B.
That's right. You don't spend all your time in the car unless you're a taxi driver or something like that. Now, self-driving cars, one thing they're going to do is they're going to, a lot of people that are driving cars for a living and in transport, like trucks and all that, will lose their job. That's a huge percentage of the population, right? But not only that, is self-driving cars are going to make the world safer.
Well, you're going to eliminate human error.
Yes, and it's going to be safer.
So less accidents on the road.
Yep. But also though, we're going to be able to use the car more efficiently. So we're going to save fuel.
Okay.
But not only that, or batteries, but not only that is, let's say...
How are you going to be able to use it more efficiently?
I'll explain. Let's say I've got a normal car that I drive myself. I get up in the morning, get in the car, drive to work, leave it in the car park it and sit inside all day.
Yeah, well, it's sitting there doing nothing.
Do nothing. However, if I've got a self-driving car that's smart, I can get my car to drive me to work, right? Then drop me off, and I'll say to the car, okay, why don't you go to work now and make me some money and drive people around?
Oh, how cool, yeah.
So then people can go to this new app that's not going to be Uber, it's going to be something else, or Uber, or whatever. And they're
Uber
gonna
2.0?
Yep. And they're going to press the button, and my car's going to pick them up and take them somewhere, and I'll be earning revenue while I'm at work. So if you look at the amount of car ownership there is You know,
It's a very high percentage.
the huge percentage. Most households have got several cars.
Well, that's interesting because more new houses that are being built in Australia are having less parking spaces.
Especially in the CBD,
Yeah.
there's a new policy where there's less car parking space. So you can actually buy a property now with no car park. Actually quite common, which was very rare. Actually, it wasn't available 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Because the councils forced you to have a car park then. But now it's the other way around.
Yeah.
So, and the thing is, the car ownership in CBD has gone right down in a lot of big cities.
Of course it has, because you've got no car space. Where are you going to leave your car if you've got one?
Also, there's a lot of big cities like Sydney and London and places like that are just so congested. Having a car
It's much
sucks.
quicker to catch a bus or just
Exactly. So I think that
walk.
what's going to happen is car ownership's going to go right down.
Yeah.
Very rare will you own a car, you'll rent it.
So this is going to be better for the environment as well, less pollution.
What's funny enough, it's dematerializing cars. Because really what's happening, there's going to be less of them, but they're going to be doing more of the work.
But
and more
it's going to be
efficient.
better for people.
Because they're going to be more efficient.
A bit like music now.
Yeah. So you think about music, we don't really own it anymore, we rent it. And now we're going to just start renting everything. We don't need to really own it anymore.
It's crazy.
And I really think, so people that drive cars, that's it, that's gone, those jobs are going. And people saying, oh shit, what are we going to do? Well, I think people are going to be able to do more fulfilling jobs instead,
Okay.
which is going to be great. You look at travel agents, for example, right? I remember going to a travel agent, you go to a travel agent and they'd sit behind that thing and you go ask them a question, they're like, and they're like going along.
Computer says no.
I knew you would say that. And the thing is, I never know what they're doing behind that thing, for one, right? But it takes forever to find something, and you're like, you know what I mean? And now I can go on my phone and go, okay, I want to go here, press the button.
Book a
and
flight
it'll
in
show
2
me,
seconds.
Show me all these different ways. It compares all different airlines. Even tells me what plane it's going to take and how long it's going to take and where it stops. And you can. There's so much you can do, and you can book your holiday easy.
Nice.
Also renting a property. I remember the first time I went to Macedonia, Ohrid, and I wanted the room there, and I didn't want to get a hotel. There wasn't many hotels, and they charged way too much. So I wanted to rent a room off a private person. So
Like
you'd
an
walk,
apartment?
Yeah, like an apartment. So I'd walk along the street. People would say, "Do you want a room?" I'd go, "Well, what's it like?" And ask them all these questions, right?
Yeah.
And then that's, oh yeah, it's great. So then you rock up and you're like, nah, it's not good. So you go
It
back.
must have been like quite a time-consuming process because you've
Took
got no
ages.
reviews that you could look up on the internet like you do these days.
It took ages. They didn't have photos, and you had to take their word for it, and that's why you had to check it out. And a lot of times they'd tell you it's great, and you'd look at it, and it was terrible. And now with Airbnb, right, I can go in, I can look at the room, look at the reviews, pay for it and book it.
Well, not
over
only
the
that,
phone.
you've got the exact location, you know,
I
how far from
you
everything,
you don't have the
everywhere it
exact
is.
location, but similar, close. They don't give you the exact.
Oh, okay.
They give you very
The suburb.
Yes, they do.
Okay, so
you
you can see where you want to stay as well.
That's right. You can see what's around it. You can look it up in Google Maps and see what's close, and you can see what other people have said. People say, "Oh, it's too far. It's too close." Anyway, on the review.
So everyone's feedback is really useful because then you figure out whether it's the right place for you or not.
Exactly, and through
Like this, where we're staying right now, we found this through
Airbnb.
Airbnb, yeah.
And you know what? It's exactly what we thought it would be.
It's even better actually. It's nicer in real life. So
But it's beautiful because I saw on the picture this rooftop deck overlooking the water. And I thought, that looks pretty cool. I wonder if it's all ours or do we have to share it? You never know.
yeah, you
And
never
it's
know.
all ours.
It's so
private.
deceptive sometimes. Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. And one thing about this is more secure knowing you can book something in while you're at home for next month.
Definitely.
So you know you've got somewhere to stay, but also you got the reviews and everything else like that. So you're getting your money's worth. And you're
It's
saving
like
a lot
using a
of time.
tried and tested process that people have already used before you. So there's no guesswork involved.
Yeah, and that's like getting a restaurant now too. You can go through Google reviews or TripAdvisor or something.
Well, we're loving TripAdvisor. We've been using that. We've been thrashing that one.
Yes, we have. And what we find now, instead of going somewhere random, especially because we're gluten free, we go somewhere that people told us, yeah, this is good.
And you can get the specific food at this place that you're looking for. So
Exactly. So what's happening is through technology, we're cutting out a lot of the middleman.
Well, it's collating all the information as well from other people because they're leaving feedback and
Yeah.
making it
Well,
easier for future
I could
users.
imagine the future. You'll have an AI assistant, and they know you already. And I'd say, I want to go on a holiday for this long, this is the price range, and they'll work it all out and do it all for you.
Nice.
You know, because this one we did on points, so it's a little bit complicated. But I reckon AI will be able to do that for you as well then in the future. It'd be awesome.
Yeah, cool.
I think AI is getting closer. So it's pretty exciting, but you think about travel agents, unless you're a specialist travel agent. See, what's happening
What do you mean by a specialist travel agent?
Okay, the special travel agents do group bookings. Very hard to do on your own on a computer.
Is that like for a Kentucky tour? Or?
No. Let's say there's a group of you that want to go to a certain place and go through certain places.
Okay.
To get accommodation, restaurants and transport for a group is complicated.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
The internet can't do that. You need a travel agent to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And those sort of specialists, that's where they're going really well. Because, let's face it, it'd be very difficult.
So you've got to be more niche and more specialised.
Yeah, because the computers can't do the niche stuff yet, only the generalised stuff. So niche stuff becomes a specialty field in a lot of areas.
Interesting.
Totally. Just like, you want to get insurance, you can go online and get it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you need something, a specialty, you probably need an expert.
To know like your specific needs for like maybe you've got a classic car or something like that.
You probably can't do that yet, but you will be in the future.
Mm-hmm.
There's probably happening right now because the cloud is getting smarter and smarter, being able to do more and more.
Interesting.
But yes, for a lot of stuff, you can compare online and save a lot of money. And I guess a lot of salespeople's jobs are going to go because the computers are more efficient. So salespeople, unless you're a specialist, are going to be tough.
Is that a bit like the self-serve checkout at like Coles and Woolworths?
Okay, you look at the checkout self-serve. They're getting better and better all the time, right? And basically, you can have one person looking at 10 people doing it instead of 10 checkouts.
True. Wow. Yeah. Never
So
thought of it that
less
way.
people. There's a new robot now that flips burgers, and I think the burger flipping business, like just in America alone, is worth billions of dollars of people working in fast food.
Mm-hmm.
Billions and billions, right?
Okay.
And they're all potentially going to lose their job because now there's robots that actually produce fast food and are going to start making their own hamburgers and things. Because the thing is, with a robot, you hire it once. There's even a sushi robot too, apparently.
Oh,
But-
cool. Yes.
So what's going to happen
I don't have
is...
to struggle making sushi
So
anymore.
what's happening is, and you got iPads with a menu now, right? Like a friend of mine created a menu pad, which is used in America,
you're right. Yeah.
Where so you don't
I
need.
actually prefer that because I can't be bothered waiting for like a waiter to come to me and then I have to explain all my dietary requirements and everything like
So
that.
we
If
don't-
I can just write down exactly what I want and it goes straight to the chef, that would actually save me so much time and energy.
Well, in Adelaide, we've got the Japanese restaurant that have got little iPads. We love that place
Yeah, the sushi
because we
place.
just go click, 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 and you get what you want. It's great. So what's happening is, I suppose, those sort of industries is getting taken over by technology. Right? And then people can do other things that are more fulfilling and better.
True.
So with technology, there's always new jobs getting created, which is exciting. So, instead of people thinking, shit, this is so bad, we're losing our jobs, we should be thinking, this is the most exciting time to be alive. We're so fortunate. And we can get robots, technology to do all the shit jobs and do all the other jobs, and we can slowly move on to more fulfilling and more interesting jobs. So I really think that a lot of people saying doom and gloom with all this sort of stuff.
But it's always been the same sort of prediction, like, oh my God, it's getting worse.
Back when the Luddites were starting to smash
Exactly.
all the
Everyone like always automatically sort of resists it at first and then they embrace it. Like I know in Australia, a specific example I can think of is PayWave.
Yep.
Now, when that first came out, everyone was like, oh my God, there's going to be so much fraud, like it's so unsafe, blah, blah, blah. But now, if I go somewhere and there's not PayWave, I'm like, what's my PIN? Like, I've forgotten my PIN. I don't even know it anymore.
Yeah.
Because it's just so convenient, so easy.
It makes it quicker.
And
And
so
it reduces
quick. You
friction.
can just go bang and then leave. And everyone loves it. Like, and I'm not just speaking for myself. Like, I've seen like people line up in front of me and behind me who will have the same reaction as myself if we go somewhere and there's not like a PayWave because we're just so used to it and we love it.
Yeah, totally. So what happens is technology reduces friction, democratizes an industry,
Well, it makes things quicker as well.
dematerializes most industry,
Yeah.
and also makes it less and less cost to acquire.
Well, it saves you time and energy.
And also reduces the time and effort and energy, yes.
I think it levels the playing field as well, because you've got apps like Upwork and Fiverr. So now people in countries where there'd be a lower pay per hour,
they can actually now, through technology, get a higher pay per hour.
Get a higher wage.
Why work for $2 an hour when you can work for $10 an hour?
Exactly, yeah. And just do something
and
online.
The world is becoming more of an even playing field. But technology, because it makes things cheaper and quicker and easier, creates more prosperity. That's the fact of it.
Which is awesome. I love it.
So most things are becoming cheaper and easier for people to get. You know, except for maybe like energy's going up, housing's going up. Those two things. And
Housing's
food.
going down?
Up.
Oh, up.
Housing, energy and food is going up.
Okay.
Because technology hasn't had a way of democratizing that yet. But energy is going to be democratized very soon.
Would you say people's wages on average are going up or down?
Okay, that's a very contentious issue, because you need to look at what people are doing for their wage and how many hours they're doing it and comparing it to inflation. So from what I've seen, and I don't have the stats on me because I'd love to show people the stats on this, but from what I've seen is people's real age earning on average have gone down actually.
The wage?
Yes.
Yeah.
Since the 70s. The 70s there was a bit of a peak, 70s and 80s.
Okay,
and
interesting.
Then,
Even though we've got all the technology and we've got it's easier to sort of freelance, I guess, and do work that way.
Okay, the thing is, I suppose what's happening is there's a lot more entrepreneurs now.
Right.
Right? So we're talking, see, when you look at those stats, we're looking at people employed that are working for a wage, getting hourly wage. Now, what's happening in the world is people are becoming their own boss in lots of ways, heaps of ways. Mm-hmm. And because knowledge is one of the biggest things, one of the biggest industries, selling knowledge online.
Well, the barrier to, I guess, have your own business has...
The barrier to entry...
gotten lower as well.
Okay, well, look at this.
With the internet, it's become easier and more accessible.
Well, we've got a podcast because you're watching it right now.
Oh.
Now, a lot of people think our Facebook page is a podcast, but it's not. Now,
but we're going to talk about that on another episode.
Yes. Well, we're going to talk about it on Facebook, not on here, because people here already know about a podcast.
Obviously.
However, there's one thing I want to mention. If you're watching us and you can see us, that's our video podcast, and the other one's our audio. And you can subscribe to the other one if you want to as well, because when you're driving, it's easier to listen to audio, and when you're sitting around,
or if you're listening, not only do you get to listen to our beautiful voices, but you get to see our beautiful faces.
Exactly, because the funny thing is, in Australia, we're huge on the video side, and in America, we're huge on the audio side. Isn't that amazing?
Interesting.
Yeah. So who knows? But thank you anyway, listeners. Whether you're audio or video, it's good that you're watching or listening, I should say.
Absolutely.
But I suppose this is like a radio station / video station, TV station.
Yeah.
And we do usually around about an hour a week. Mm-hmm. And we've been on holiday, so we may have missed one week or so, maybe. The thing is, to do this, the technology to do this 20, 30 years ago
would have been impossible.
Would have cost a fortune.
Yeah.
So this is part 1 of democratization and losing your job.
We'll do part 2 tomorrow.
You can't see us, so we're going to do part 2 another time. Let's not promise tomorrow. We might be out having drinks and partying in Santorini. Okay,
thank
guys.
You so much for
you can't see us, but thank you anyway. Bye-bye.
Bye.
For everyone listening, thank you once again. Stay well and see you next episode.
For awesome info and trending content, go to theuglytruth.blog.